Hey guys, KangaskKid18 here, and y'all know I love shiny Pokemon, but some shinies just aren't as good as others. So today we're gonna take a look at the top 10 worst shiny Pokemon from Generation 1. In this video, I'm gonna take some of Gen 1's lackluster shinies and show you how I'd change them. And if you don't see one of your least favorite shinies on today's list, be sure to check out my original top 10 worst shinies video. We're gonna start with the not so bad and end up at the truly egregious, so let's get started with number 10. Pikachu, and also by association, Pichu. For as popular as these Pokemon are, Game Freak got real lazy with their shinies, with Pikachu turning a yellow-orange overall, and Pichu getting brighter yellow with red cheek pouches. As far as bad shinies go, these two aren't so bad, which is why they're at the top of today's list. And I think you can make a really simple change and have these shinies look pretty decent. Just change the color of their cheeks to white, and all of a sudden they're super easy to tell apart in battle. But why stop here? Why not turn the whole thing white, but make the cheeks a light blue? Even though these shinies would now look at home in the high Arctic, I think that this is a great shiny coloration that really makes Pichu and Pikachu look fantastic. Next up, we've got the number 9 spot on today's list, Weedle, a Pokemon whose shiny actually isn't all that terrible, more just a little mediocre, turning a pale yellow with a light pink nose and feet. It just seems a little out of place when you compare it to the green shinies of both Kakuna and Beedrill. So here, let's change shiny Weedle to look bright green, but with a deep red nose and feet, which looks okay, but besides giving me a Christmas vibe, it also reminds me a little too much of shiny Sawaddle. So instead, let's keep that green color, but make its highlights a pale blue, which in my opinion is a much more complimentary color and is more in keeping with the rest of its evolution line. Of the two, this is my preference and something that I would much rather see in game. Moving on, we've got today's number 8 spot, it's Mr. Mime. And like the previous two entries, it's not so much that Mr. Mime has a terrible shiny. In this case, its red spots all turn a bright green. Rather, it's that the shiny isn't anything particularly special, and I think there's one cool thing you could do to make this shiny look great. Instead of a bright and colorful clown, how about we go with a totally grayscale, well, mime? I mean, it is meant to be a mime after all, isn't it? And what colors suit a mime better than gray and black and white? Despite looking like he stepped off the set of a silent movie, I think this shiny is streets ahead of what we've got today, and if it were real, I'm sure it'd be one of my all-time favorites. And with that, some of the Gen 1 shinies are starting to look a little worse, so let's continue with our number 7 spot, Flareon. Evolutions seem to have troubled shinies, and Flareon is no exception, turning from a vibrant orange to a very dull orange, and honestly, this is a shiny that was almost included in my original Worst Shinies video, but it was granted a stay of execution to end up here instead, and I think that Flareon shiny should end up one of two ways. On one hand, we could turn it a deep gold color, except turn its highlights a beautiful rose, which I think looks great, even though it's kind of random. But what if shiny Flareon took on more of a burnt out look, like firewood after an extinguished blaze, kind of ashen all over? I don't know why, but I find this to be an elegant and beautiful shiny for Flareon, a vast improvement over what we've got today. Next up is today's number 6 spot, Fearow, a Pokemon with a shiny that I've always kind of hated, turning a dull olive green with an orange crest. I was never a fan of Fearow, and its shiny certainly does it no service. So let's change that by making shiny Fearow a deep brick red overall, with a bright blue crest. And y'all know how much I love the color blue, but in this case, I actually think it doesn't fit. Instead, let's keep the red color, but turn the crest a brilliant gold, which takes this shiny from what had been one of my least favorites to something that I'd actually look forward to hunting. And moving on, we've got the number 5 spot on our list, which today is shared by both Bellsprout and Weepinbel. These two Pokemon both have fairly different shinies, and each is terrible in their own way, with Bellsprout getting golden leaves and a purple mouth, and Weepinbel getting barely different leaves and a barely different mouth, which is too bad because their evolution Victreebel gets such a great shiny, turning bright green overall with a blue mouth and brown leaves. And I think it'd look best if both Bellsprout and Weepinbel got the same shiny, both turning green and both getting a blue mouth and brown leaves, though I think that Bellsprout's leaves ought to turn a darker brown to better differentiate them from its stem. Looking at them now, it's nice to see this evolution line finally get shinies that unite them all together. And up next is today's number 4 spot, and once again a shared entry, it's Goldeen and Seaking. These two shinies look so darn similar to their normal forms, both turning from a reddish orange to a more different orange, with Seaking getting a green tinge to its fins. But these things are goldfish, right? So how about we actually make them gold? And oh my god, doesn't this look better? Not only does this coloration look totally elegant, but Goldeen particularly completes the look by getting these eyes that are such a deep violet that Elizabeth Taylor would be jealous. Ironically, shiny Seaking looked pretty similar to this in Generation 2, so it seems particularly infuriating that they'd opt to go with a far inferior shiny in subsequent generations. And next up is a Pokemon whose shiny I never really quite minded, but is almost universally hated. It's our number 3 spot, Persian. In this case, shiny Persian becomes a pale color overall, with bright magenta in the inner ears. And while I think it's an alright shiny, I can definitely see where people are coming from here. It barely seems to change at all, and I'll admit, I like the occasional subtle shiny. But let's please the masses here and do a 180, turning shiny Persian a deep midnight blue, kind of like it's a beautiful Black Panther, with white ears and a golden jewel. While I kinda like shiny Persian's previous colors, it's clear to me that this shiny is superior in every way, and something that I'd love to hunt if it actually existed in-game. Moving on, we've got the runner-up for Worst Shiny of Generation 1. It's the number 2 spot on today's list, Primeape. And while I really like shiny Mankey, its evolution just does not cut it in the shiny department, getting a tan-colored body with olive green limbs. It always just looked kinda gross to me, especially when there's such an easy fix. Just turn it into shiny Mankey's colors, only give it Celadon green limbs instead of brown ones. This shiny looks great, finally a worthy evolution to shiny Mankey. But I think we could go one step farther here, turning shiny Primeape white overall, with cobalt blue limbs and silver gauntlets, which I think looks awesome. And honestly, I can't decide which shiny I like more, this one or the previous. Either way, shiny Primeape definitely deserves a better color scheme than what we've got today. And finally, we've got the cream of the crop, the Pokemon with the number 1 worst shiny of this generation. It's Golem. I think Golem's a cool Pokemon, and it always seemed weird to me that it got such a terrible shiny, turning from brown with gray rocks to tan with different tan rocks. And it's kinda odd, because this evolution line starts out with a beautiful golden shiny and just ends up here. But let's change that. Remembering where this evolution line began, I say we give shiny Golem a golden yellow body with dark black rocks, kind of like it's made out of coal. In my opinion, not only is shiny Golem the worst shiny Pokemon from Generation 1, but the shiny coloration I've suggested here is also the biggest improvement of anything on this list, which is why it's landed today's top spot. Alright guys, that's all I've got for you today. I know that it's unlikely that any of these terrible shinies will change in upcoming generations, but I don't think this series is about that. Rather, it's a chance to look back at past mistakes, think about what could have been, and learn how to avoid such things in the future. I can only hope that Game Freak will listen. Thanks for watching, guys. I'd like to do a follow-up to this video, showcasing some of the terrible shinies from Generation 2. So let me know in the comments if that's something you're interested in seeing. Until then, you can always go back and watch my original Top 10 Worst Shinies video, or check out some of the ways shinies have changed their colors over time. Thanks again for watching, and as always, guys, we are gonna see you on the next shiny.